Oh, I wore my love stamp earrings for this occasion. Hey everyone, it's me, Kendra. It's the end of 2022 and we've had so many stamps come out this year that I thought it would be fun to go through and do a tier ranking for all the 2022 stamps. This is common in video games and I mostly see it there, but I was like, it's perfect for this. There's S tier, which is the top tier, D tier, which is the lowest, and I'm gonna place all of the stamps that came out this year on this tier list. If you wanna do your own tier ranking, you can actually use, I made a URL for this, so this is all saved in the tier maker. I'd love to see what you guys list things as. I'm gonna go in order. This is just the order that Stamp News Now, where I pulled all these images from, this is how they have them labeled alphabetically, so there's no preferences here. Okay, so first up, I think I'm gonna put the global stamp as S tier. I think this is a beautiful new version of it. It's really simple, but I love it. The blueberries. Blueberries I think are gonna go A tier, although I love the artwork of those, but they're not that useful because they're just 4 cents. The nonprofit one, I wish these were just regular forever stamps. But it is nice, I'm gonna put them B tier because it is nice to have better mail coming from like nonprofits. It's always been that kind of like blocky flag for a while, so I'm happy to see a different one. And this is for pollinators, so I like that. I know this one a lot of people like. This is the Buzz Lightyear stamps. I'm putting these D tier because even though they had a lot of variations, I really didn't like that it was for a specific movie. This feels like a movie that was a movie and this came out as part of its promotion, which I don't like. I even say there was a one for Disney villains. I felt that that was better because at least it was like encompassing a larger history, whereas the history around Buzz Lightyear isn't that like incredible that we have to make sure that we're preserving it as a stamp. So that might be, you guys might disagree, but that's just where I would put that one. It's still fun to buy, but it just feels a little too commercial for the United States Postal Service. Peanuts, kind of similar reasoning. I think I'm between B and C for this one. It's a classic, and that's what makes it a little bit better, is at least it's like an American classic that's been around for such a long time. There's also a ton of variations on this one, and it seems to be focused more on Charles Schulz as the main character of that. So his photo was in the center. So it was more about his artwork. So that's better. So I think I might do B. Edmonia Lewis. You'll see that I'm not the biggest fan of portraits, but this is one of the exceptions that I think it's beautifully done. It's painted. And it made me do more research into Edmonia Lewis, which I was really amazed by her art. So I think this will be either A or B tier. I might move things around. That's the cool thing about this app, is I can kind of do whatever I want. So elephants. I thought these elephants were really cute. They're not exactly my type of animation style. They're a little bit blocky, if that makes sense, but I don't know how to describe that, but it looks like it was made in like Illustrator and not like made by an illustrator. So that's why it's less my favorite, but it's either A or B. This is a portrait that I think is my favorite. This is the Eugenie Clark stamp. This is what I want to see more of from stamps about specific people, because they really went like kind of wild with the medium. It's like a photograph, but it's mixed with a collage. And there's a shark just there, which I mean, she studied sharks, so it makes sense, but it just felt really fun for just a regular stamp. The barns. These are barns with American flags on them. I think I'm gonna rank it at C. They're fine. There's 4 different seasons in them. They're beautiful, but also there's not much like, there's no really deeper element to them. These are the shiny $2 and $5 stamps. I'm gonna put them in D just because I don't know what I don't have a great purpose for them. I'm sure that other people do. But for my needs, these might as well not exist. They can exist, but I'm not going to use them. They are holographic though, so that's a plus. These George Morrison stamps are S tier for me. I think they're absolutely beautiful, and there's 5 different pieces of his artwork that are featured, and I think they're really fun. The holiday stamps, starting out with the Hanukkah one, I think I'm going to put that at B tier. I really like this one because it's using fiber arts. I think it looks really nice. It's not necessarily a stamp that I'm gonna use regularly because I don't celebrate Hanukkah, but I think it's at least it's a lot more creative than some of the other holiday stamps. These holiday elves, that's going to D tier for me just because I find them kind of creepy. There's 4 of them and the animation style just has a very like, they even have like, look at their vacant eyes. We're all seeing the same vacant eyes, right? So this is Catherine Graham, the publisher. As I mentioned, portrait stamps don't do it for me. I'm happy that she got a stamp, but it's certainly not going to be at the top of my list. This Kwanzaa stamp, I think I'm going to put at B tier. I like it a lot. Again, it's kind of like that Hanukkah one. I think they really let an artist be more creative with it, so it's got a more distinct style. So I like that one a lot. This love stamp, it's either S tier or it's A tier. There's 2 different variations, and I think that's why I'm gonna put it as S tier. A lot of times the love stamps are just like one specific image, and I liked that this one had variety. I always enjoy the love stamps. I'm very excited for 2023's. But this one, yeah, I think this is a good fit. Mariachi is also going to be S tier. There were 5 different variations of this. They were all super bright colors. You could see the sun in each of them was like different colors. I just think these are gorgeous stamps and really bright and are kind of what I want more stamps to be. I'm gonna put this is the Mighty Mississippi series. That's gonna be B tier for me. I don't love photography most of the time in stamps, especially when there's nothing else that's making it more intriguing. What I do love about this one, the reason why it's B tier, because normally photography is like C or D for me. This stamp has a really cool concept to it. So it's photos of the Mississippi River from every state that the Mississippi River goes through. And I love that concept. Once again, it's just photography, especially like that more like landscape photography, isn't really my cup of tea. This stamp for Monument Valley is one of those more expensive priority mail stamps. I don't really have a purpose for it. I will always stick with just a basic forever stamp. Happy for people who need that, but it's not particularly helpful to me. Also, when I look at it, I'm like, $8.95. I could buy so many forever stamps with that. I'm gonna put the Wild Flora, I think it's called. Those stamps are S tier for me. There's 4 of them. They're all done with like printmaking, and I think they're gorgeous. And what I love about them is they're in rolls and they're in other ways, and I've been seeing them everywhere, which means they did a huge printing of them. And I think these are the type of stamps that you're gonna see for a long time to come. And they look great on an envelope. They're just really nice stamps. You probably won't be surprised to see me putting Nancy Reagan in the D tier. I was surprised that they had Nancy Reagan and Catherine Graham both come out in the same year and both be wearing red. It was just white women in red. Okay, I'm gonna put these, I think it's called like National Maritime Collection. I'll write the correct thing on the screen. But these I think are going to be A tier for me. As I said, I'm not a huge photography person, but these were a variation of sizes. I also love a square stamp, and there's some square stamps on this and some really big square stamps and some really small square stamps. And I love the size variation. That's so rare. So that's A tier. The Palace of Fine Arts, this is again one of those priority mail stamps that's more expensive. It's, I think, $26.95. I just don't have a purpose for it. I believe it's sending like larger envelopes. It's D tier. Once again, the art's fine, but it's just not what I would do. I'm gonna put Pete Seeger at C. I think that I love a square stamp, as I mentioned, and this one, I don't love a portrait, but at least this one had cool on the dark background, and there's like motion in it, and I like the colors that they chose. So that's gonna be C tier. I know I don't look like much of a car person, but the pony cars are actually A tier for me. I love when they do those retro cars. I also like the style that they do the art in. Next up, I'm gonna put The Giving Tree. That's actually C tier for me, which even though I love that book, I cried while babysitting reading that book to children because it's so sweet. But this stamp is just a huge repetition of the same stamp. I think there's like, it's just a sheet with all the same stamp. And to me, I think it missed out on an opportunity to do a bigger piece with Shel Silverstein work, using more of his art. kind of like what you see with the Charles Schulz ones. So I kind of wish that was different, and therefore it's C tier because I'm like bummed at the opportunity that we missed out on. I have to put a flower in S tier, but all of these are pretty much flowers. But in S tier, I'm putting these flowers in snow, I think it's called. I think they're great. It's kind of like, it's very much a painted style. There's a ton of variation. I think there's 8 different stamps with it. So I really like that one. And now here, I'm gonna do these two together. This is my more controversial take. These stamps I thought were going to be my favorite stamps of the year. These, I think they're called Tulips Forever, but they are actually in D tier because when I got them in person, the printing quality just didn't seem good enough, and the stamps themselves are really small, and because of the amount of white space, they look minuscule on an envelope. And I was really surprised how like I had so many hopes for how that would look, but they really kind of just didn't have much pizzazz to them. So they're going down to D tier. I'm putting this, the 2-ounce version of it, which is with sunflowers. I think that would be, I'm gonna say C. I haven't seen these in person before they got mailed. I saw them on an envelope after it was mailing. It's definitely bigger because it's a 2-ounce stamp. I think it's a little bit bigger. And I think it needed that room, but still there's just a bit too much white space that makes the stamp kind of just fall into the envelope. The Title IX stamps. I think that's also C tier for me. This is not my favorite style. There's 4 different variations on it. I think there's a gymnast, swimmer, track, maybe something else. I can't remember. But they're fun, but they're very not my style. I feel bad putting them here, but I think it's my truth. Now, these American flags, I think I'd put C or B. I had gotten so used to the other American flag and I really didn't like it. It was much more of a photograph, and this is a painting of 3 flags. So I think that this one is just, you will see these stamps no matter where you go. You are going to see American flag stamps constantly. So at least this is an American flag stamp that I'm like, I like that more than the last one. So that's B. I think I'm gonna put the Virgin and Child, which is a series that's consistently happening. I think it's every year. And that one's A tier for me because it really is one of the few stamps that feels like classical and like practically medieval. And I like seeing that with all of these others. You can really see that that's got like a darker tone, and I really like when there's dark colors in stamps. So I really like this Virgin and Mary. And honestly, every year I'm pretty happy with it. I think the one thing is, I wish it didn't say Christmas at the top. I think that I would use this a lot of the time when I was looking for a more, you know, religious stamp, but it wasn't necessarily Christmas. I just want to use it in January. Now the Webb Space Telescope, I thought this would be in my top S tier this year, but I'm actually putting it at B tier because it's just a repetitious photo, and okay, as I say it, I'm like, I still have to put it at A tier. But the thing that really bummed me out about it is it doesn't have any holographic qualities to it, which a lot of times the darker stamps do. And the fact that this one didn't just felt like such a miss, especially because it was the Space Telescope and the Webb Telescope had such a year this year. Everyone's been talking about it. So I think that they might have been like in a rush getting this out, but I was kind of bummed about that. This is Women Cryptologists of World War II, which I did buy and I did like. It actually has a little quiz on it, which is why it has such a why it's a little bit higher than the others, is because there was an interactive element to it. I love when they do that on stamps, and I think this was a good example of them doing it well. I will say the cipher was so easy. It was not, I wish it had been like a bit more challenging, but I had a good time. I did it on a TikTok live, so we all got to experience it together. Then this last one is, second to last one. The women's rowing stamps. I'm gonna put this at B because these, I was kind of not into the visual style of them, but when I saw them on the sheet, I saw how cool they looked. It's got like the women's rowing teams kind of going versus each other, and I think it looks amazing. So even though at first I was like, I did end up loving it. So that's gonna go to B. And then the Year of the Tiger stamp. This is S tier. This is one of my favorite collections that they've been doing because every single year just feels like I'm like adding to this amazing thing. I unfortunately used all my Year of the Tiger stamps, so I think I might see if they have some still left. I'm looking at this and trying to see if I want to make any changes. I might put, no, okay, I'm keeping it. And you guys can tell me what you think I messed up, and I look forward to talking with you in the comments. I feel like this is a great place to just talk about all about the 2022 stamps and what your thoughts were on them. So I'd love to hear that. I feel like you guys now are like inside my head. You know the secrets of why I do and I don't like stamps. Pretty much as you can hear, not a portrait person. I like variation in my stamps. And I hate when we miss out on a better opportunity for something that was just easier to do. If you want to take this, you can go ahead on TierMaker. I'll put a link down in the comments or in the description so that you can actually do this yourself. I'd love to see what you guys come up with. And please subscribe. I'm so close to 500 followers and that would be amazing. And thank you all so much for watching. I'm so excited to be making more videos in 2023. Bye.